Redstone is an incredibly useful feature in Minecraft that can automatically open doors or explode your enemies. And some gigabrain players, way beyond my experience, can even make fully functioning calculators and computers within Minecraft, or build game-breaking farms like on the SciCraft server. But for the average player, not many go beyond simple levers, buttons, or pressure plates. And this video isn't necessarily a guide on what every redstone component does, so I'll leave a link to a video by iCraftMC if you're interested in that. I'll be going over simple, basic circuits and devices that will hopefully improve your game. In the first category, we have redstone clocks. Now, a redstone clock is basically a circuit that produces a repeating pulse. So one simple and cheap example is if you put blocks like this, break out those blocks, redstone torches here, redstone dust there. Now it might fizz out. Just put a lever there, and then hopefully it'll be a constant repeating pattern. And you can extend that as far as you want. And you can put this to whatever you want, like a piston, for example. Or you could have it go to a redstone lamp. However, the thing with redstone lamps is that they have this quirky property that they turn on within one redstone tick, but they turn off within 2 redstone ticks. And so this is flickering on and off faster than the redstone lamp can detect. So if you want to, if you want the lamp to flicker on and off, just put a repeater down here, and that should add some delay. For the next redstone clock, you make a T-shape, break out the middle block, place some redstone dust here, a torch here, and a repeater here. Now it might phase out like it did on the other clock. That's because you need it to have some delay. And then it should start going. And you can extend this to whatever you want again, to a redstone lamp, or a piston. For the next redstone clock, put a block here, a torch here, some redstone dust, another block, another torch, some more redstone dust, block, torch. And you have a repeating pulse, and you can extend this wherever you want. Now this redstone clock is pretty interesting because it's similar to the one we made in the T-shape and then break out the middle block. But instead of putting a repeater here, you put some redstone dust here, and then a redstone torch on either side. And then it should create an alternating pattern. It'll go from one side to the other. And if you're feeling a little spicy, want to splurge a little, use some of that nether quartz, you can make observer clocks by facing 2 observers into one another. Because an observer detects block updates. And so this little cute face you see here is looking at the block that's in front of it. So if I were to place a block down and right here, you should see that on the back, this little red spot here, it should blink when there's a block update. You saw it flash? And when I break it, it flashes because the block is changing in front of it. And so what happens when you place an observer in front of an observer is this observer detected that I placed a block here, so that created a redstone output. And then that detected that had an output and into an infinite loop. For the next category, we have logic gates. Now for a logic gate, you basically have some type of input, a logical circuit, and then your output. Now the most simple type of logic gate is a NOT gate. To build a NOT gate, you have a block, your input, redstone torch, output. So when your input is off, your output is on. When your input is on, your output turns off. So a NOT gate basically inverts your signal. And this will be very important for some of the other logic gates that incorporate that within them. So here we have an OR gate. An OR gate, your output will turn on if at least one of your inputs is on. So if this input is on, your output will turn on. Or if this input is on, your output will turn on. And if both inputs are on, your output will still be on. However, it will turn off if both of your inputs are off. And this is what it looks like. And if you want to build one, you have your input here and here. Connect them up to your output. So if this input is on, your output's on. This input's on, your output's on. Or if both are on, your output's still on. Fairly simple. Up next we have the AND gate, which is a little more complicated, but here's how it works. If you have one of your inputs on, your output is still off. If this input is on, your output is still off. You need both inputs on for your output to be on. So this input and this input. That's why it's called an AND gate, because both inputs need to be on for your output to be on. And this is what it looks like. And here's how you build it. You have your inputs here. You have redstone torch, connect them up with a redstone dust. Put redstone dust here, and then you put your NOT gate here, and then put your output. And so it won't work if just one is on, or if just this one is on. Both of them have to be on. Now you could actually simplify this if you wanted to. And you could put your NOT gate on this block right here, and have your output right here. See, so if these are off, then that's off. It's still off if just one of them is on. It'll only turn on if both of them are on. And you could build these arbitrarily far apart if you want to. You could have them like over here, for example. Just put the redstone torch on the back. Connect it up to your NOT gate. And then have your output. So this one is on, but your output is still off. However, if I turn this one on, then your output will turn on. So there's many different configurations that you can do to make an AND gate. Up next you have the NOR gate, which is essentially the opposite of the OR gate, where your output is on if your inputs are off. If one of your inputs is on, then your output will turn off. Or if both of your inputs are on, it'll still be off. And this is what it looks like. And this is how you build it. You have your inputs, redstone torch. Hook it up to your NOT gate, and then have your output. You don't actually need this middle block if you don't need it. But it'll turn off if at least one of them is on, or if both of them are on. Here you have your NAND gate, which is the opposite of an AND gate, where both inputs have to be on for your output to be off. It won't be enough just to have one input on and the other input off. Both of them have to be on for your output to be off. And this is what this looks like. And this is how you build it. Leading to NOT gates. Then connect up your NOT gates to your output. And it won't turn off if just one of these is on. Both of them have to be on for it to turn off. So that's your NAND gate. Now this one is probably the most complicated of them all. It's the XOR gate, or an exclusive OR gate. And so your output will only turn on if one of your inputs is on. It'll turn off if both of them are on. So either this input is on, your output will be on, or this input is on, your output will be on. However, it won't work if both of them are off, or if both of them are on. This is what this looks like. and this is how you build it. You have your inputs, redstone torch, block here, redstone dust, torch, 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 dust, 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 connect it up to NOT gates, and then connect your NOT gates to your output. And now you have an exclusive OR gate. So it'll turn on if one of them is on, but not if both of them are on. So that's your XOR gate. And there are several different ways you can make a XOR gate. So if I were to make like a X shape, and then I had my inputs here and here, and then torch, torch, redstone dust, block, block, dust, dust, torch, 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 and then output. So if I turn this one on, the lamp will turn on. If I turn this one on, if I turn this one on, the lamp will be on. However, if both of my inputs are on, the lamp will be off. The next important thing to know about are comparators. Comparators are probably the most complicated redstone component, but once you get the hang of them, are actually quite amazing. Now, the difference between a comparator and a repeater is with a repeater, you have a redstone signal coming in, and it slowly weakens over time. And then you put a repeater down, and it will strengthen the redstone signal all the way back to full strength. However, with a comparator, you have the redstone signal coming in, and the signal starts weakening over time. And the comparator will only output whatever power level is being input. So in this instance, the redstone dust here is at power level 3, and so the redstone dust that is being output is also power level 3. The useful thing about comparators is that they can measure the state of a block and produce a redstone signal accordingly, like the contents of a chest or a hopper, a composter, or basically anything that can hold an inventory. If there's nothing in the chest, then there's no redstone output. However, if I were to put some stuff into the chest, you see that there's a slight redstone output. Now, this only has like one slot filled in the chest. If I were to fill this with stacks and stacks of items, then the redstone signal would be stronger. Same thing with the hopper. There's nothing in the hopper, then there's no redstone output. I put stuff in the hopper, then it gives out a signal. You can also do this with things like composters, where you put in an apple, and depending on the level of that's being composted, the signal gets stronger until it gets at full strength, and then you break it, and then it goes back to 0. Now what I really like is that you can also do this with lecterns. So you can change the page of the book, it goes up by 1. You change the page again, it goes up again. And so on and so on. It just keeps going up. And you can change the strength of the signal based on what page it's on. The reason they're called comparators is because you can compare two different signals by placing one comparator into the side of another comparator. So in this instance, you have this redstone repeater giving out a power level of 15 into this comparator here. However, this lectern is only on page 14, so this is less than this power output, and so this comparator is not giving out a signal. However, if I were to turn the page by 1, then it is equal to the power level that is coming in on this side, and so it does give out a signal. So if the power level from this comparator is greater than or equal to the power level that is coming in from the side comparator, then it will give a redstone output. However, if it is less than the power level coming from the side, then it will not give an output. They also have a useful feature where you can put them into subtract mode like this. And so subtract mode subtracts the input that's coming in from this comparator from the power level that's coming in from this comparator. And so this redstone dust right here is at power level 15, and this redstone dust right here is at power level 14. So 15 minus 14 is equal to 1. And so the power level that is being output is 1. So this redstone dust is being powered, however this redstone dust is not. If we were to move this back, say to here, then this is still 15, and this is 12, and so you have a power level of 3 being output. Understanding comparators will be quite important for some of the later devices in this video, including the next category, item filters. Tired of manually sorting all your items? Well, using the comparator, now you can make an auto filter. The cool thing about hoppers is that you can transfer items from one container to another container, but it doesn't really discriminate between what items get filtered. But if you place a hopper pointing into a comparator, you see the nozzle there going into the comparator, and inside the hopper you have whatever item you want to filter, and you have these 4 slots as junk slots, and then in your first slot you fill it up to however many it takes to get a redstone output. In this case, 18 is the cutoff mark, because if I were to add one more, then it turns on. For a practical application, you could have a setup like this, where inside the hopper you have these 4 slots as your junk items that you don't want. These could be anything that you don't want filtered, and then in your first slot is the item that you do want filtered, and it has to be at 41. So you can put whatever you want in here, and it won't get filtered through the system unless it's the item that you put in the hopper here. So it'll start getting filtered through into this hopper and then into this chest. And the reason this has to be at 41 is because in this case we were at 18, but that's because the redstone line here was shorter, whereas in this case the redstone line is just a little bit longer, and so you need more items in the hopper for the signal to reach here. So if you want to build this, you make like a plus shape, and then 2 blocks here, redstone torch, repeater, redstone dust, redstone dust, redstone dust, comparator facing this way, and then have the hopper facing into the comparator so the nozzle is facing that way. And then have your chest, hopper facing into the chest, and then have your filter items. So if I were to drop this in here, nothing happens because it's not the item we want filtered. However, if we were to drop this in, it'll go into the chest. And these are actually tileable, so you can just stack them next to each other as many times as you want. And if you want to make it tileable, you can just add a row of hoppers on top like this, with your input chest here and your junk chest of anything that does not get filtered into this chest. So if in this container you say you want skulk, and in this container you want something precious like diorite, and this is your input chest, so you can put whatever. And so our diorite is getting filtered into that chest, our skulk is getting filtered into that chest, and then anything else that is not being filtered goes into our junk chest. And the nifty thing about hoppers inside of minecarts is that they can actually pick up items through solid blocks. So if I were to throw this in, it gets picked up and it sends out a redstone signal. But if it's not the item we want filtered, it'll just sit there. In order for a comparator to pick up the contents of a hopper minecart, it needs to be on a detector rail. Like so. And this is useful if, for example, you have a secret base that can only be activated by a secret keycard. So if you put these keycards in your filter, you go up to your base, and it will unlock your door. And it will only work if it's actually named that item. So even if it's the same type of item, but it's named something different, it won't work. It has to be that specific tag. Are you the richest kid on the block, looking for the quickest way to dispose of all your excess diamonds? Then look no further than the auto dropper. By having a comparator measuring the contents of the dropper, it won't do anything if it's empty. However, if we place something inside, it will create a redstone signal that we can then loop back around with a repeater and some redstone dust to activate the dropper, disposing of all those unmentionables. And once all the items have been dropped, the system will stop. And the way to build this is incredibly easy. You just need a dropper with a comparator facing into it, and then a repeater with some redstone dust, And you can either have the redstone dust going on top of it like this, and it will dispense the items, or you can have a block next to it and put the redstone dust on there, and it will dispense the items. Another thing you can do is put two comparators facing in opposite directions, hook them up with some redstone, and put a lever, and then when you turn it off, the signal will slowly decay over time. If you want it to decay a little bit slower, what I always say is, when in doubt, just add more comparators. So when you turn it off, it'll be a little bit slower. Building with redstone vertically can be challenging sometimes. However, you can use something like glass, which is a transparent block, because unlike opaque blocks that cut off a redstone signal when placed like this, the redstone line will go through the glass. So you can make circuits that go vertically up like this. Alternatively, you can make a torch tower where you place a redstone torch with a block on top, with a torch on top of that, which will then be turned off, with a block on top of that, and a torch, and so on. And you can toggle the lamp on and off by placing a lever. So turn it off, turn it back on. And finally, not only can you filter items, but with the 1.19 update, you can also filter sounds, or more specifically vibrations. The skulk sensor picks up different vibrations depending on different actions that are performed, so such as walking, jumping, placing blocks, pulling levers, breaking blocks. And the redstone output is dependent on how close you are to it. So if I'm farther away, it'll be a weaker signal. If I'm closer to it, it'll be a stronger signal. And the sensor can only pick up an 8-block radius. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I jump here, it can still hear me. If I move one block back, it can't detect me. But different actions have different vibration levels. So walking, for example, has a vibration level of 1. So if I put a comparator into this sensor and I started walking, then it will only give out a power level of 1. So the redstone dust here is not powered. But if I were to jump, then it will go up to here, giving off a power level of 5. And we can actually waterlog the skulk sensor so it silences it so it stops making that noise, but it still detects vibrations. So by using the compare feature of the comparator, we can actually create a vibration filter. So if we have this set to 11 and we put this comparator into subtract mode, so if I place a block, it should give out a signal. But if I break a block, breaking a block is actually a vibration level of 13, and so that is too much. And so what's going on here is you have the signal going into another comparator that's being redirected into this repeater, and if a signal is too great, a repeater going into another repeater, this repeater will become locked, and so it won't allow this signal to go through. So it only filters the vibrations that we have specified. If there's any other redstone device you think I missed or should have included in the video, please let me know down in the comments. And if this video was helpful, or at least mildly interesting, consider leaving a like or subscribing. Thanks for watching.